Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to this new video that we are releasing. It's titled "Entering into His Times." Yes, and what we are seeing in this series of videos are different celebrations, different traditions, different things that we celebrate today in our culture. So the idea is to expose and to see the origin of each one of these celebrations and see if they coincide with what we believe, what's our faith. And it's this important series that we are doing about Christmas, and particularly this video will be talking about where does the Father Christmas come? Yes, Santa Claus, Sinterklaas, Papa Noel, there are many others, Saint Nicholas, and many other names that this character uses. And how is it that this character get into Christmas? Does he have to do with Jesus Christ being born? Okay, and before getting into this topic, I'd like to please have in mind and listen with this how culture is developed throughout the centuries, throughout generations. Pay attention how the different things go adding up, generation after generation after generation, and bringing with each its own component. Yes, it's like the games. Yes, where we when we were kids. That is like a broken phone. That there's a message that is released into one ear. That person repeats that message, and repeats and goes on and goes on. And each person maybe doesn't listen properly or adds their own interpretation or their thought of what they listened, and at the end the message is completely different. It has the same origin, yes, but each generation, each century, there are things that are adding up, and there has nothing to do with that. Yes, so let's have in mind this. Let's have in mind the importance of the culture, the traditions, and why we do the things. Yes, that we do. Traditions is something that not just Israelites fought against, yes, in Jesus' time, yes, with the Pharisees or the Israelites coming out of Egypt, and trying to keep themselves from the traditions of the peoples that surrounded them or lived in the promised land before they arrived. So let's have this in mind, and let's bring our light in what we do in our practices, so our faith can be stronger and more closer, yes, to embrace Jesus. Okay, so let's start. Let's go directly to this character. There's many names, and most of them just go to Saint Nicholas. This character was born in the year 280 after Christ, and in current Turkey, yes, in that area. And he gave away all his inheritance, his wealth, and he devoted his life to God and to help the poor. Yes, and there's many different stories about this character, not knowing if they're actually true or not, but represent at least nowadays we know about him, or we remember him. And for example, there's a story about three very poor girls, and that he comes to the window and drops a coin inside, and that coin went right into a shoe or a stocking, depending on the story, and that's the origin actually of the Christmas stockings, yes, that are filled up with presents. So, and you can see this in several centuries, how this kinds of evolve, yes, and we jump up to the Middle Ages, yes, 1,000 years later, and this is the most popular saint of the moment. You know that there's many Catholics saints, yes, throughout their calendar and their practices, but this one was the particular and most important and most loved one, let's say. Okay, so and even after the Reformation, yes, in the after that, even though because the Reformation brought a stop against yes, the veneration or worship of saints. Yes, but even though the Reformation came, they embraced this figure, even though the Reformation. So there's it's this Saint Nicholas in the Dutch is Saint Nicholas, and from there it evolved in a short version. Yes, that is Sinterklaas. Yes, and that in America with Dutch immigrants and Dutch settlers that came to America, the name Santa Claus evolved from that Sinterklaas. So, for example, in Germany, they celebrate the 6th of December. That's the day that Saint Nicholas died, and that he is remembered. And they continue today. They leave their shoes outside the room towards yes, receiving some presents from the parents. So this is something that is done today, and it was the figure of Martin Luther, the reformer, that in a way to wanting to uh, help the people to separate from the practice and the veneration of this Saint Nicholas. He brought the gift, yes, exchanging within Christmas, yes, in a way to give us some distance and help the people to separate from this practice from the saint. So that's how the presents kind of also got into the Christmas celebration. The thing is, it just not brought the presents, it also brought the Saint Nicholas into Christmas because of this. Yes, the people they changed the date, but they continued to embrace this Saint Nicholas figure. Okay, so this is the reason, or the person that did this in an effort to uh, keep keep the center in Jesus and not the center in this other saint. Yes, and having cultural practice going around and trying to put the focus again on Jesus. Yes, but even though we can see how this evolved in another form. Yes, besides that intention. So we can see evidence that, for example, in America in the 1773, the Dutch settlers were celebrated or commemorating in the 6th of December the Saint Nicholas figure. There's evidence of that. Then also there's evidence in 1804, we have the figure of John Pinter. Yes, he was a member of the New York Historical Society, and he distributed different woodcuts of the St. Nicholas in their annual meeting. Yes, also you have in 1809, the Washington Irving. He had popularized the Sinterklaas or Santa Claus stories in New York, and he made it. I mean, he made this saint the patron of New York. Yes, that means that he is a saint associated with that city. Because New York had a huge amount of Dutch immigrants in their history. So you also have in 1822 Clement Clark Moore. He's an Episcopal minister, and he wrote a poem for her daughters that it's titled "An Account from a Visit of Saint Nicholas," and he made it very popular, and he's starting adding some different things, as for example, with a nod of the head he could come up and down from the chimney, or for example that he was traveling throughout the night in a sleigh with some reindeers. Yes, he introduced these aspects in the story. We also have, for example, the influence of the Father Christmas figure. This comes from England. and the this history of this influence, it's different. It has the Christmas ghost or the Christmas spirit, and you have the ancient, yes, Christmas spirit and the future Christmas spirit, and with all that concept of traveling in time and making the people see if they were good or bad, to maybe, yes, bring them to change their lives. All that concept comes from this Father Christmas and this ghost that presents at this moment. Yes, so this influx comes from here, and this figure, for example, is completely different from the how we know Santa Claus today. Yes, we can see him over here in his green coat. Yes, with a completely different image from what we know. Then with the Victorian influence about Christmas, they introduced the Christmas tree, at least into the English-speaking people, and that made a real fashion or real phenomena about that, and it was in that moment that Charles Dickens writes also a book about it. Yes, and he also brings new aspects or new things that are adding on into this figure. Yes, we also have. We can recognize the influence of Odin. Yes, the Scandinavian god, and for example, this god traveled. Yes, in a flying horse, and he had two helpers, yes, two ravens that went out and informed him how the people were behaving, were doing. So we have this influence, yes. Later on, it adapted, went from horses to reindeers, and instead of these ravens to the different elves or to Christian Peter. Yes, so the influence or the idea, the concept comes from Odin, this god. We also have a book of Montgomery Ward in 1939 that he sold 3 million different books of what he wrote. And later on, you have John Marks, and he also present, yes, a story based on Rudolph. And he also, in 1949, and he also sold several millions of copies. You have also the first image of nowadays Santa Claus was you can track him down to Thomas Nast. He was a political cartoonist in 1881, and he represented this figure based on Moore's poem, and you can see that he is kind of an elf. Yes, he's chubby with a red and white coat, and all this presents this image, yes, that later on starts to being used in different advertisements, different things, as people, as different businesses, yes, want to sell, they see that this figure is very beloved one, and they're yes, they attract sales to all this. For example, you have also the figure in Austria of the Krampus. This is the kind of this figure that you see, and he's the one that not only if the boys misbehaved, they received a piece of coal, but not just that was the issue, but then the kids had to deal being confronted or being looked for this character. Yes, bringing fear into the children that misbehaved. And there's for this figure there's parades and different social activities that are done in this country. So how this is celebrated throughout the world. Nowadays you see that in Netherlands there's a 36% that celebrate the Sinterklaas, and the 6th of December there's a 21% of people that celebrate it on on Christmas to the 25, yes, they exchanging gifts at that moment. And there's a 26% that exchange gifts at both dates, different dates. You have for example, in Belgium, they give the presents exclusively to kids, the 6th of December, and to the 25th, they give it, yes, to kids and to also adults. Okay, each northern country has developed a story also, getting appropriating that the Santa Claus lives in their country. Yes, you have, for example, the Canadians that said no, he lives in certain area. You have also the Finland that said no, he lives here. The Swedish, every country, every northern country claims that Santa Claus lives in their country in a specific town. So there's all different of variations of this. But you have also, for example, nowadays it's not common, but back then, before the telephone, the main way was to write letters. Yes, and there you have the writing the letter to Santa, asking for what the gift you wanted. Yes, and obviously the mail systems, they had, because of law, they had to deliver the letter because the people paid for that service, and that meant that they had to do something. The clerk just can't throw that in the trash immediately. So each country developed different places where to deliver or dump all these letters, and they grabbed all these. For example, there's also a place, a very abandoned coal mine that's one way very, very deep, and they just dump all these into this huge immense hole that go way down. So you have, for example, in Ukraine, yes, with their 49% of the Christian are Orthodox, and they celebrate they exchange the gifts, yes, and they celebrate the Christmas on January the 7th. Yes, so you have a different way, and they dress accordingly. Yes, they have their ceremonial dressings, but they have something strange. They have, for example, they put spider webs on the Christmas trees because there was a story that a very poor family had a spider web in the Christmas tree, and the other day that became gold. Yes, so in that belief, everyone covers their Christmas tree with spiderware. So that's something that's done over there. Then you have also, for example, in Ireland, where they put a candle, the little candle, in the window, yes, calling and guiding Santa Claus or the spirit to come into this house. You have also, for example, in Mexico, where they do these enactments about the journey of Joseph to Mary to Bethlehem, and they go telling the story in this particular way. Then, for example, in India, instead of using the traditional Christmas trees, they decorate the mango trees. So that's something very particular about in India. And Australia, for example, because it's in the southern hemisphere, Christmas comes in the summer, and instead of using the snow and all that kind of motives, they use the summer instead. So everything's decorated with summer, with beach on different aspects that are related with the summer. So there are many ways how Christmas is celebrated. Yes, not just in the way that you're accustomed to because of where you are. Yes, and there's also another figure that these Nutcracker, yes, these toy soldiers, that's come from Germany, and these soldiers were kind of guarding against evil spirits that wanted to affect or come into the house. Yes, so that figure brings that. And in the Second World War, when all the Americans went to fight over there, they brought back home these figurines, and he was added up into the Christmas folklore. So as you can see, there are many different origins. Even you have books, you have poems, you have songs, you have the movies that were created all, based on upon those that literature, and it was generating, yes, after generation, it was adding up lots of things, yes, and you can see how all this, for example, the big stores, the malls, they, because they had this Santa Claus within, yes, and the kids sitting in his lap and asking for the presents. The people just came a lot to the mall, so it was uh, there's a lot of business, yes, of merchandise, of wanting to bring this figure. Yes, you have a lot of propaganda, advertisements using this figure to be able to associate that product of that business, associated it with the Christmas table or the Christmas customs. So everything's very influenced, but with a commercial and a way to, yes, to involve this. And you can see that there's absolutely nothing about Jesus Christ in this figure. Instead, it really comes to replace his figure. Yes, because the all the singing, all the advertisements, everything is about, yes, Santa Claus or this. They're not talking about Jesus. They're not making the center of the celebration about Jesus. They're making the center, and it's all over the place. Yes, and the influence, it's very strong. And you have this figure and having the children wanting to behave properly. Yes, to able to please Santa. And you have two things here. First, it's not by what we do, it's by grace. Jesus brought grace. Yes, that is his gift. It's not because we want to behave or have to behave in a certain way. And that's a Catholic mindset, yes, in all this. So all this figure comes and clashes against the grace of Christ, yes, and we're not trying to please Christ, yes, being as he teaches, but trying to please this Saint Nicholas, this Santa Claus figure, trying to behave in a certain good way, yes. So you have all these things that come and compete with the figure of Christ, and it really trying to steal and rob the character. Yes, that he is the center. That this date is about his Jesus being born. Yes, we have another video about where this date come from. Yes, who determined it, and why this is date is wrong. Yes, and please check this video out to be able to see more information. Yes, we also have a video about the Christmas tree and what's the origin about that. So please check this other video to be able to know what's the origin about that. So we have all these different things that come and add up and really, yes, come and distort the true meaning of what as Christians we believe, yes, or we want to believe, that he is the center of the things. So the reason why we share about all this is shed light about it, and that we can take a decision. Yes, we can want as a family be able to pass on to our kids and then our next generations. We can continue the lie, continue the influence of all these other things, or we can stop it and we can say, no, let's celebrate in a proper way. Let's celebrate the things according to what we believe, what this home, yes, stands up for. So we pray that you might be having this moment and listening and being willing to open, yes, and changing our traditions, changing the ways that we just like, yes, and entering into the ways that that we really should be doing the things. Yes, are in agreement, in accordance with our faith. This doesn't have to do with something that's nice, yes, like giving gifts or behaving well. No, it's deeper. There, as you can see, there's a deeper meaning beneath all this, and a deeper clash. So I invite you to be able to ask, yes, the Lord, and how to celebrate and how to honor Him, how He would like to do that. Okay, so God bless you. Thank you for being with us in this video. God bless you. Bye.